Fubara, yeah.
All right, welcome into Freshly Pressed on a Wednesday morning here on the Smooth Breakfast. This is your love music, love live station Smooth 98.1. It's 32 minutes past 7 a.m. And this is yours truly, Ayokunmi Reckon with you on the 10th of December 2025. Yes, the month of December is galloping along 10 days already. In another 15, we'll be talking about Christmas Day. So I'm pretty sure that you are looking forward to that in one way, shape, or another. And God willing, it's going to be one for us to remember, to rejoice, and of course, to look back on with fond memories as well. This is an interactive session, so this means that you also get to play a big part in proceedings today. Please do join us on WhatsApp, join us on YouTube. Let us get your thoughts. Let us hear from you. Let us read from you. Send your messages into the number 0911 999 0981 Leave your comments on YouTube as well, where we're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Those are the ways you can join the show this morning. All right, joining me on the show to analyze the stories, two very fine gentlemen, Lakunle, Yusuf, and of course, Devoe, Okorie. Lakunle, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, Devoe. Good morning, everyone, wherever in the world you're listening to us this morning. 21 more days for 2025 that started just like yesterday. I think we've come a long way and we should be grateful for the grace that we're still here.
Yes, indeed. Grateful every day. Devoe, good morning to you.
Morning world, morning Lagos. Anyway, Lakunle. Hopefully union members will not be allowed again. Eku, we are not simplified. Eku, we are not simplified.
Devoe never stops to crack me up. All right, let us begin this morning taking a look at one of the big stories that broke yesterday, and that was the defection, or well, defections, but I'll start with one of said defections and we'll segue into the other one. The River State Governor, Simelala Fubara, who has officially defected from the People's Democratic Party, that's from the PDP, he has moved to the ruling APC. The story is in The Guardian, or really any paper out there today, because it's all over the news. Well, he announced his decision during a stakeholders meeting held at Government House in Port Harcourt on Tuesday. And Fubara has joined several of his colleagues who have also made that switch to APC just this year. There had been speculation over this. It had been rife for quite a little bit, and it finally has happened. Well, um, that is on one hand. That is one PDP governor. Another PDP governor, that's the governor of, excuse me, the governor of Osun State, also dumping the PDP and moving to the Accord Party on the eve of the party's um, primaries. Elections are coming up there. So the PDP has two less governors in quick succession. And hey, at this point in time, Devoe, what does this mean? Number one, for Nigerian politics, what does this mean for the PDP? Is this finally the end for the PDP and really opposition in Nigeria as a whole?
Well, a very, I wouldn't, in short, let me start like this by saying, Fubara, this is just a fulfillment of all righteousness. Fubara, Governor Fubara, Sim Fubara, unsimplified Fubara, left the PDP the day he went and knelt down for Wike during the, I don't want to use the word so-called, but during the dramatic state of emergency that was declared on River State, where initially the president, after several meetings, could not bring about some agreements, um, followed Wike's push for a state of emergency and eventually capitulated. So what we saw was Wike and his goons, the state assembly, were the ones that came back to be screaming, "We are now simplified." So that's why I'm telling you that no, 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 the people of River State are not simplified. That was when he defected to the APC. The current moves by the State Assembly who were all formerly APC members. Remember, they initially had given a verbal indication that they were leaving and came back to play politics on the accord of the FCT minutes that their leader have just left formally now. But that is all just fulfillment of righteousness. We know the game plan. And like you said, what is the indicator first for the PDP or for democracy? One, I've always pitied the people of River State because they had an opportunity, okay, to back up their governor and ensure that those who had self interest in the state would not achieve their aims. But I don't know, they just could not stand up to the fight. And let's say without spilling of blood, a state of emergency was called, compared to all the blood that is being spilled all across the country in the name of insurgency, kidnapping, and banditry. And no state of emergency have been called. Rather, a twist on the English as an emergency on security. So you can see, remember, this emergency security obviously is not a state of emergency because the National Assembly has not been called in.
Right.
Practically no extraordinary measures were taken. Changing the the Minister of Defense is not an extraordinary measure. Those are within the powers of the presidency, which he can do at any point in time. So I really pity the River State people who never have seen the benefit of their own commonwealth and always have whittled where the fights for democracy are required. Ask yourselves how many people are in Wike's camp? How will a few people hold a state hostage for how long? Right? Now, in the long run, when you take a look at the movement of Fubara to the APC, as well as the movement of Adeleke, the sixth member of the Jackson Five, to the Accord Party, basically what you see is the failure of 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 the PDP to have held their ship together. Unfortunately, what was once the ruling party and biggest party in Africa is now a mere shadow of itself. They can't even stand for 5 minutes and look straight in the mirror. However, remember, it's not just about watching politicians play drama, okay? It's about the citizens not being able themselves, one, to hold their leaders accountable. You should be asking yourselves, even the current PDP states, are they better than the APC? We should be asking ourselves, this move to the APC, is it because the APC states seem to be governed better? Those are the real questions to be answered. And if the answer is no, then Nigerians should be gearing up to teach the politicians a lesson. Unfortunately, independent candidacy is not allowed. And unfortunately, I've not seen, even in the ADC, where you have the motley crew of Atiku, Obi, Amechi, and Saraki, and what's his name, Aregbe, they've not been able to get their act, and we are practically a year and a half away. So I am at this point. I'm crying for democracy in Nigeria. There's nothing worse than elections that are botched, elections that are compromised. It's worse than even a military coup, so that people know. Because the way we make noise about military coup, what is worse and what we see in Africa is compromised elections by sit-tight leaders in power across the whole of Africa. It's not a democracy. So the fight for democracy in Africa is fake. It's not real because they're never talking when the leaders are delivering bad governance to their people. It's when a few pick up one or two implements of the gun and try
Right.
to take over, then we begin to shout, no, no, no. We don't encourage coups. Let's ask ourselves hard questions. What is going on, even in Nigeria, is not democracy.
Hmm. Interesting times in the Nigerian landscape, most definitely. Well, I don't think this is the end of all these defections left, right, and center. It won't surprise me if today we hear of other governors who have made the move from the PDP and so on and so forth, back and forth. We'll keep eyes on this one, most definitely. Most definitely. I'm just trying to keep it all together here because, anyways, Lakunle, let us talk about this particular issue that is in the Punch newspaper. And it says that the House of Representatives has summoned the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edu, and the Minister of Budget and National Planning, Mr. Atiku Bagudu, over poor budget implementation. The House on Tuesday held a closed-door session with Edu Bagudu and the Accountant General of the Federation, Shamsuddin Ogunjimi, and the Executive Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Zach Adedeji. A lawmaker who attended the session told The Punch in confidence that the meeting focused on the poor implementation of the capital components of the 2024 and 2025 budgets. Now, he said that lawmakers expressed deep frustration over the government's failure to release funds for projects already executed. What's going on here?
Where does one start? Excuse me. Where does one start from? See, we're talking about budget implementation for 2 consecutive years. We are all aware that sometime last month or late last month, contractors went to the Ministry of Finance, blocked the road, brought offering and cried for payments of jobs executed and promises made. So imagine then that you're a contractor to the government and you have done the contract in 2024 and this is 2025 and the capital expense of the budget under which you are awarded the contracts had not been implemented. You had gone to a bank to take a loan to execute the project. And the profits, there is no how the profits that you should have earned in 2024 will not have been eaten away by the inflation that has happened between then and now. You have family, you have staff, you have a lot of things that depend on that, your income. Right. And so it goes all around to come and affect the GDP of the country in itself, our revenue generation in itself. Also recall sometime in July or August, the executive chairman of the FIRS said that the FIRS has met its 2025 revenue generation drive or something like that. And it became a debate, whatever. So if we have met this drive for 2025, how come then are we not able to spend money? Do you know that even as we are now, right, 2025 budget is not even being implemented at all. What we are implementing now is 2024, and we have this problem of this money that is here. So all the money that was supposed to have taken as loans according to the MPEF, our medium term expenditure
framework
program, whatever, that we are supposed to have taken the approvals for all those monies. Where had all those monies gone? The income we have made, like the executive chairman boasted in July, where are all those monies? So we need to look at some of these things and say, is it that it is government, bureaucracy that is delaying this thing? Also, the rep members, don't forget, they also get constituency projects. And the monies that they use to fund these projects are tied to implementation of this budget. So we hear that each rep member gets a constituency project worth, is it 1 billion or 2 billion? So if they've identified the project, they've given it or they're about to give it, the people in their respective constituencies are crying that my representative is not doing anything. We will not vote for him next term. So you see, the effect of the non-implementation of the budget is not just about government not having money or having money and not spending, but it goes all around to affect economy, social, political atmosphere of the country, and nobody is left out. So we would just like to appeal to the government, get this thing going. Let's even move. And the basis of the argument is that if we don't do 2024 and 2025, why are we considering a budget for 2026? There was a report yesterday, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, that the government, the federal government was advising the MDAs to move all their capital expenses of 2025 into 2026. And I don't think that is good for accounting. We need to determine and decide what we want to do with our budget cycle, how we want to run it, January to December, or January to March of the subsequent year or whatever, and be firm with it. Otherwise, we'll continue to have this problem.
I just wonder when exactly we'll be able to get things right, because we're talking about 2024 and 2025, and 2025 is just about 21 days or thereabouts away from ending. How then can we begin to talk about 2026? And then that vicious cycle continues into that next year. And
Devoe, can I add something? That vicious cycle is still corruption, okay? And when I call it corruption, it's not corruption in the sense of something that is hidden. It is non-acknowledgement of accounting principles, which the accountant general of the nation, as well as the minister of finance, should be carrying out as their mandates. Now, what is a budget? A budget is just a framework or a strategy of how you want to spend money. Now, what happens is under the presidential form, the legislature must give authority to spending. Now, in accounting procedure, if you have not finished spending that money, okay, even if it existed, right, you must close that budget for the year and add it to the new budget. But what happens is that when it reaches the end of the year, maybe the money for that budget came late. They will ask the Ministry of Finance to keep that budget open because it's already been approved so that they can keep spending. This is all convoluted accounting and expenditure management, fiscal management in this country. It's a failure on government. Because the truth is, you can close the budget and bring back any unspent item in the supplementary. But we don't want to do that. We want to go through the back door and keep spending money. So don't let the government fool you that they're presenting new budgets. Close the old one. Don't present a new one. Close the old one and then bring a new one. That's how it's done.
All right. Thank you for sharing those thoughts there, Devoe. Tayo Naja says Fubara was suspended and Rivers declared a state of emergency during his administration, yet he said he was abandoned only to join his oppressor. I'm sure the First Lady knew Adeleke wasn't decamping to the APC. That's why she told him to hurry up. This brand of democracy, the more you look, the less you see. Let me decamp to Smooth FM. Now, you can't decamp to where you already are. I mean, you're here already. Cool decamping. There's budgeting, a Nigerian version of budgeting. There's a Nigerian version of everything at this point in time. I'm inclined to actually believe. Keep those thoughts coming in.
We are a special people.
Very, very special people. The WhatsApp number is 0911-999-0981. All right, Devoe, let us talk about this update concerning the Nigerian Air Force aircraft that we've not heard too much about. Well, we've had a couple of updates concerning that one. This story is in the Daily Trust. It says that the Nigerian Air Force has broken its silence on the Nigerian aircraft that is currently in Burkina Faso. A spokesperson of the force, Air Commodore Ehimen Ejodame, made certain clarifications regarding the situation in a statement on Tuesday morning. Now, for those who did not know, the Confederation of Sahel States, AES, a rival ECOWAS union, accused the aircraft carrying 11 Nigerian soldiers of violating Burkina Faso airspace. Now, the AES is made up of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger Republic. It was established after ECOWAS suspended the three nations over the toppling of democratic governments. Devoe, make some sense of this one for us.
Right. What I would say here is that on the surface, it's much ado about nothing in the sense that clearly the Nigerian military plane, the C-10, violated the Burkina Faso, the Burkinabe airspace, and it was grounded. All right. The Nigerian Air Force has come out to clarify that it wasn't that there was anything untowards. They were going to Portugal, and a safety issue in the flights came around, and they had to land at the nearest airports. Fine. That's asking us to, forget what happened. But the point I want to show everybody is that small Burkina Faso military, okay, were able to intercept, were able to ground a carrier, okay, that came into their airspace illegally without authorization. That small Burkinabe Air Force, small Burkinabe army. They're not more than 45,000. The Nigerian army is about 250,000 officials strong, okay, plus all the equipment that we have. All right. The Nigerian Air Force, one, Navy, has not been able to intercept all the boats that steal our crude. Till date, what did they intercept? Maybe a crude vessel carrying about 800,000 barrels, which is small compared to a full oil tanker. There are many helicopters and illegal unknown planes that come into the northern airspace in the name of moving solid minerals and gemstones. We've not been able to intercept those till date. Everybody's saying, I don't know who are those people. The Chinese, the Sri Lankans, the Indians, the Lebanese have been moving things out of our country, and no, if nobody's detecting, no form of surveillance. We even hear our satellites are moribund at this point in time. So it's a big shame again. It's a big shame again. Remember, illegal mining is at the root of the insecurity taking place in this country. Just ordinary 45,000 man Burkina Faso, they were able to ground a Nigerian plane that came into the airspace illegally. What have we been doing? You know, these are the parts that we don't really discuss. These are the parts, and I say it's not as if the Nigerian Air Force doesn't have the capacity. What we see is compromise. Compromise meaning you don't act in the interest of the people. Because in the last story we're supposed to take, you saw how within 24 hours, AY, I'm sure you've never seen the Nigerian Army move into action. You've not seen them form Voltron or Rambo. Gone are the days when they called on ECOMOG and Nigeria was part of the Joint African Force when they went into Sierra Leone, into Liberia, into Guinea, into our people have history of performance. Gone on those days. The question is, what happened? We clearly understand now that it was all compromise, and Nigeria must come to terms with how we have more or less neutralized our military to looking like people who have no capacity against ragtag armies, all in the name of this new narrative called human shield. Excuse me. Excuse me. Some would say, oh, the Nigerian issue is asymmetrical. Please, please, please move to second base and stop fooling the Nigerian people.
I think I have a contrary opinion to the use of words Devoe have just made, said they grounded. So if we start from where the story came from, the Nigerian Air Force's safety concerns, and as far as I know in aviation rules, when you have safety issues, the pilot is mandated to contact all the possible airports in its vicinity to say, look, I have a problem and I have got to land. One of them must give that plane priority. And then they must then, when it lands, then they must then establish that there was really an issue. And the plane will remain grounded until they are satisfied. So it's not like the Burkina Faso Air Force or anything went into the air and forced the plane to land. I just think that what is happening is that we are probably just being overreactive to what it is. I think that let's just take the word that it had safety concerns, it landed, and it remains grounded until they confirm that there was truly a safety issue. Because saying that I have safety issues, I need to land, you are disrupting a whole process. And I think there's a fine or there are some sanctions attached to false claims to such things that must be established before the plane can be released. I think that that's what, on the face of it, that's what it is. I just think
But are
that
you
because
saying the
we are just being
Burkinabe Air Force
overreactive to
lied?
things right now.
Are you saying the Burkinabe Air Force lied?
I'm not saying they lied. I'm saying they have not said that they went into the air to bring the plane down. The plane landed
No.
and the whole day held it
The point
considering
is,
their
if you don't
infiltration.
land,
They did
if you
not go
don't
into the air
land,
to say you must land or I will shoot you. The plane
yes, if you
landed,
don't land
and then because they
unauthorized,
need to confirm, no. The plane, you guys know how you will land unauthorized. They will give you the clearance to land. Then they
that's
will
what I'm
hold you and
saying. If they
confirm
had a safety
the
issue, if they had a safety issue,
no.
and they
don't. No, 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 no.
communicated with the
No,
Burkinabe
no, 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 no,
airport,
no.
we
That
wouldn't
is
have
not what you
heard
said in the
that they
first
were
instance.
grounded.
I think that we are just being overreactive to this thing.
Gentlemen,
Let the Burkina Faso people do their whatever, and then we'll know what the real issue is, whether it is true it was a safety concern or not. Then the sanctions can then come after.
Lakunle, there's no sanction involved here if authorization was not taken. The point is, if Nigeria, it's remember the all airlines, all aviation, they have the air traffic control. If they had a safety issue, they would have communicated. We have a safety issue,
So
and
if the air
authorization would have been
traffic
given.
control says don't land, they will not land.
No, so
They
that's my
cannot
point.
force themselves on the airports. The traffic
That's
control
my
must
point.
have given them authority to land, and then they will conduct the investigation to be
No,
sure
they would
that
not have
the
given them
reason they
authority
gave
and
is for
then
the
came
people
gentlemen,
out to
landed.
say that they were
I
gentlemen,
agree
grounded.
with you.
we don't have the time to actually play excuse me, to actually play detective on this particular matter. We've heard from two different perspectives, Burkina Faso side and Nigerian side. If only we had more time, we could then continue on this trajectory, but we need to actually keep things moving and try to sneak in one more story here before we wrap it up this morning. But let me take a message here or two before I do that. This is Amadi Nicholas in Ibajo who says, Dear Smooth team, I just want to thank our analyst today. Devoe is completely spot on. Okay. And this is from Rexy in Surrey who says, our democracy was not in danger when 5 PDP governors and Atiku defected to the APC 12 years ago. But now PDP governors moving into the same APC is a problem. Are we masking political bias as analysis? Well, that was. Thank you, Rexy, for your message. This is Fabian Inekwe, who says, Good morning, sirs. We have to say it as it is. The reason why illegal mining occurs in the north, why terrorists are amassing wealth and causing mayhem in the same north, and why all guns go blazing when it comes to illegal bunkering in the south is because the government is complicit and we, the people, appear to be powerless to respond to this. I hear you. All right, Lakunle, we need to very, 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 very quickly talk about. I know that before we started the show, I actually mentioned his name to you. We had a good laugh about it. This story is in the Vanguard. It's Sheikh Gumi, and he made some very interesting comments. You'll have to just get through this as quickly as possible. Now, he said the abduction of school children is a, in quotes, lesser evil compared with the killing of soldiers. Now, according to him, both acts are condemnable, but they do not fall within the same moral category. What do you think about these comments?
I think that first, with all due respect, as one of our daddies used to say when he wants to insult you, with all due respect, but I'll remove the insult. I think that non-state actors in whatever form should keep quiet, and our media should also try to blank them out. Let's look at it from the professional point of view. In a war, in a full-blown war, the first things first are that old people, women, and children in whatever order should never be harmed, should never be touched, right? So they are out of scope of anything you're doing in a war. If you are going to shoot down a building and there's an inkling that as much as a child inside it, you should not shoot at that building, right? A soldier, his job is to go to war, knowing at the end of the day that he could die. So what is Sheikh Gumi saying here? That is a lesser evil. Nobody wants to fight a war, but we know when it comes to war, soldiers are the ones who go to war on behalf of the rest of us. I'm not trying to be insensitive to what he has said, right? But the truth is that what have the children done to deserve being kidnapped? What is their sin? They just want to live life where the adults who bring them to life, where the ones to offer them protection, to raise them. And then the lowest of humans, the worst of us humans is the man who stands up to hurt a child that is harmless, that is not doing any harm to him. I mean, so I do not in any way agree with him. And I think that he should just keep quiet and face his job as a cleric and leave state actors to find a solution to the problem means to get this problem solved. The primary role of government is to ensure the safety of all our citizens. And it is not in its place to project on the government how the government is going to solve the problem.
Let me take your messages. Let's see here who's talking to us. Ajay Oloniloa. Good morning to you. He's a Magodo Jerry Sherry. He says, good morning, gentlemen. This wave of defections by serving governors from the party on which they were elected to another party is an ominous sign that all is not well with our democracy. Our leaders must change this ugly narrative to avoid the total collapse of the system and prevent the gale of coups now sweeping across West Africa. Barrister Dan Okuda says, good morning, crew. We have over-tolerated these Gumi excesses. Time has come to put him where he belongs. Where does he belong, Barrister Dan? Tony Nikeja says, good morning, Ayo, and the crew. From every indication, democracy in Africa can be described as a homeless orphan suffering from malnourishment, while political parties in Nigeria are simply the kabus that take politicians to the national cake bakery. No one cares about the state of the vehicle so long as the greedy drivers do their job, after which both the vehicles and their drivers can sink or drown. Under this scenario, anybody saying that military coups in Nigeria are no longer viable is laughable. Well, I don't know the perspective that comment came, so I can't comment exactly.
Please, the worst democracy is better than the best government, please. I beg, those of us who have lived it, we know these things.
All right, this is Tony, but in Marine Beach now, who says, good morning. I'm really not comfortable with this issue about a military that's been thrown open to conjectures. This is no longer a Nigerian matter alone, and it's getting too embarrassing, like drying the dirty linen outside. The story says they got all necessary clearance and had an emergency landing. The Burkinabe authorities can easily verify the fault and keep politics out of this to avoid diplomatic complications. As for our politicians and Fubara in particular, I can now see they are being run by something else when they get into power. They have no conscience and integrity is no longer in their vocabulary. This one is coming in from, this is Windy. Windy says, but Lakunle, how did the plane get all the way to that area of Burkina Faso? Check the map, Nigeria to Portugal, see where that area of Burkina Faso is now. Well, I don't have any skill or experience in flight navigation, so I really wouldn't be able to answer that question.
Let me tell this. You know that when you want to fly from Lagos to Abuja, your plane does not fly the way the map shows you. The plane first flies down into the Atlantic Ocean, then goes to turn back to come around. Everybody looks at the map and thinks that you just fly into the air and it's a straight line to everywhere. No, that's not how it works. There are so many planes in the air, and there's a general mapping of where every plane can pass to go to anywhere at every point in time.
All right. I think we need to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for all the messages. It has been a pleasure reading from you, hearing from you always. Thank you so much to you, Lakunle, and to you, Devoe, for joining us this morning and, of course, sharing your rich insight. Always a pleasure, Lakunle.
Thank you, Ayo, for having me. I'm expecting two things from you now. That call you're going to make on my behalf, and two, my Christmas hamper.
How about my Christmas hamper? No problems. Devoe, thank you so much.
NEPA took lights. Bye-bye.
Enjoy your day, gentlemen. Thank you so much once again. Thank you for keeping it tuned to Smooth 98.1. And the Smooth Breakfast is what you're listening to. Ayokunmi Kekere. We're here 8:15. We'll take a look at what's been going on in the world of sports in the locker room.
All right. Devoe, are you still there?